Animal shows is the vehicle through which we give recognition to exceptional animals. An animal's visual appeal is determined by its structural correctness and functional efficiency, as well as characteristics such as masculinity and muscle development, or femininity in the case of females. Let's just say, in this case, you can judge a book by its cover, and here, livestock judges have a very big role to play. In today's episode of Plaas TV, seasoned Interbreed judge Jong demonstrates this on some Brahman stud cattle. Let's switch over to Lisa for the news first.
Elanco, we are driven by our vision of food and companionship enriching life.
In the news today, the size of the management area affected by foot and mouth disease in KwaZulu-Natal has been reduced. This follows an announcement by the Minister of Agriculture, Toko Didiza, after the conclusion of a second round of serological surveillance. The disease is still confined to 2 clusters of dip tanks in Matuba and Ngoma. The new disease management areas includes portions of the Pongola local municipality, areas south and west of the N2 and the whole of the Ngomo, Mtuba and Mfolozi local municipalities, portions of the Umhlatuze local municipality and the whole of Hluhluwe Mfolozi Park are also still part of this area. And the mohair market increased by 4%, closed at 419 Rand per kilogram during the second sale of the 2021 winter season. Our highest price of 970 Rand per kilogram was paid for a bale of 25 micron Superstyle RMS certified kid mohair. According to Mohair SA, the offering consisted of good quality mohair. 76% of the mohair was RMS certified. This led to good competition between the buying houses. En die 35-jarige Dawie Brits van die Belfort distrik is onlangs as die TLISA Jongboer van die jaar aangewys. Brits boer met sojabone, mielies en hoenders op die plaas Modderbult. Beide sy oupa en sy pa het ook op hierdie plaas geboer. Dawie het 'n kontantpakket van R52.000 as ook 'n oorseese reis na die Manitou fabriek in Frankryk gewen. Jess Walker van die Losberg Boereunie was in die tweede plek. En dit is dan vandag se nuus.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jong. I'm an interbreed cattle judge, a member of the South African Interbreed Judges Association. I'd like to thank Plaas Media for the very, very handsome shirts which they have donated to the South African Livestock Judges Association, of which I'm also a member. And as recompense, I'll be describing this very good-looking Brahman heifer over here this morning. One thing we must also always remember when we're talking about livestock, especially when we talk about judging, is that it's a comparative process. We normally like to compare one animal with another animal. So that actually gives us something to work against. In this case, I'll just be describing this animal as an example of the Brahman breed. One thing we must remember also is that there is more variation within a breed than between breeds, which means that you're going to find a very good Brahman animal and then a Brahman which is less good. Similarly with a Hereford or an Angus or even a Boerveld or a Beefmaster. I'm going to start then looking at the front end of this animal. If we have a look at her, first thing we see about this Brahman female over here is she's got a very good temperament. She isn't fazed by my appearance over here, and if we have a look at her, she's got a very, very kind face. At the end of the day, this is what we want in cattle. We want docility, because having and fighting with cattle that have got bad temperament is not fun, and it's also very dangerous. If we have a look at her, and you've got a very good view of her over here, look at the front end of her. She's got a very good broad muzzle. That's what we want, because at the end of the day, if an animal has a narrow muzzle, it just means she's going to take a lot longer to get the required nutrition into her body. As I said, she's also got a very, very kind eye, and she also exhibits for us very good width between those eyes. Now, this is a strange thing that we've seen when it comes to judging of slaughter cattle. The width of an animal's head is an indication of what we have behind her. You seldom find an animal that's got a narrow head, that's got a wide body behind. So, as I said, if you have a look at this animal over here, from the front view, she's got a very well developed head. She's got a good nasal bone over here. Her muzzle is well developed over here. You can see her lips, and that mouth of hers is well structured. She hasn't got an overshot or an undershot jaw. When we have a look at the neck, and that's a very, very important part of the animal. When you have a look at it like that, you can actually see there are very, very fine little lines on that head neck. That is an indication of femininity. If we have an animal that doesn't have those lines, it probably means that the skin is quite tight, and that's what we don't like to see. If I go and feel that skin, I will feel that that skin is very soft and very supple, which is exactly what we want, and it's an indication of femininity. If we look at her through the front end over here, she shows us a very, very good dewlap over here. This is this part over here. You can see it's a little bit heavy at the moment. There's a little bit of fat. There is no muscle in this part of the animal. This is only fat. But at the end of the day, this animal is 6 months pregnant, and we'd like to have that fat over there because it's a reserve for when she has to start milking for a calf. The way she stands, she's standing not too badly. If she was in a show ring, my man over here would probably have her standing a little bit straighter, but at the end of the day, we can see that she stands quite wide between her front legs. Now, as I said earlier, that's also an indication of what we have through the back of this calf, this animal. We can see over here on the shoulders, she's well filled through the shoulders, and when we look at her from the side, we'll see that the shoulders are very, very well formed in terms of the way they combine with the rest of the animal. There is a little bit, I'm going to move this way. We can see over here, as I said, over the neck, we can see those fine lines over here, those fine pleats over there. She has a very, very well formed hump. This area over here, the neck, shoulder, body attachment over here is fairly straight, which is exactly the way we want it. A person might argue and say, oh, there's a little bit of a undaking over here. There's a little bit of it falls away slightly there. Yes, it's very, very easy to look at any animal and condemn them. But at the end of the day, this animal is fairly well formed over there. If we have a look at the way these legs are placed, the legs are placed well. From the front end, we saw that they were very straight. They didn't turn out overly, and they were definitely not pigeon-toed. If we were looking at male animal, this area over here is an indication of muscling. In a cow, we don't want overly muscled animals. We want femininity. And this animal over here is an exemplary example of that femininity, because she doesn't show us hard muscle. Muscle we see in an animal in terms of knobbly bits, if I can put it that way. In a bull, we would actually see this part over here bulging. We don't see it in this animal over here, which is excellent. Over the top line over here, she's well filled over the top line over here. We must remember she's 6 months pregnant. Over the top line over here, she's wide and she's strong. She also shows for us very, very good spring of rib over here. Gas capacity. An animal needs capacity because it's going to eat grass. If we have an animal that's very flat and doesn't show a spring of rib over there, it just means that animal is going to need a lot more food, a lot more artificial food in the terms of hay and things like that being fed to her. It means she won't probably be able to live off the veldt, because that is where we want our cattle to live. They must be able to live and produce calves annually off the veldt. If we have a look at the back end of this heifer over here, she's very, very long and well filled over here. The loins over here are well filled over here. The length between the hips and the pin bones is good, quite nice and long. That's what we want to have. We must remember, at the end of the day, our expensive cuts to a large extent come from here. It's what we call the pistol cut. It comes from here, down there, and down to over here in the flank. These are your expensive cuts. We have your T-bones over here and your rump over here, and then the other cuts over here, the sirloin and things like the sirloin, which is on the inside over here, and then the other expensive cuts in the hind quarter. When you look at her back legs over here, she's well filled through the back legs over here. And one thing I must say about this heifer over here is the shape and the size of those teats. We don't want an animal that's got monstrously shaped teats, because it means a small calf can't get hold of them, and at the end of the day it means there's less nutrition for a calf. But if you have a look at the shape and the size of these teats over here, they're very well formed, the length is right, and they're hanging perpendicular, which is exactly the way we want to see it. If you come around the back over here with the camera, we can look at the hind quarter of this heifer. What we see when we look at her from the hind quarter over here, we see that width going from here. These are the pin bones over here. We must remember the calf's going to come out here. The wider those pins are apart, the easier this animal is going to calve. And if you look at the width over here, over the hips, you can see that those hips are nice, are wide apart, and that width goes all the way to the front, to the hump over there. She's wide over the top line, and we must remember that the more width we have over the top line, the bigger our expensive cut's going to be. She's well full on the outside over here. At the end of the day, on our outside thighs, we want those animals to be thighs to be well filled. We don't want overly muscle in this animal because she's a female. But we can also see over here the way in which they are filled. There isn't a big gap between the back legs over here. She shows us very good bone. She hasn't got puffy hocks, which we sometimes see in cattle if they've been overfed. But also what we see over here, when I look through the back end over here, is the shape of this udder. Very well formed, because you must remember, the better formed the shape is of the udder, the longer that animal can be in production, because it means that the udder isn't going to fall off. And when the udder falls off, we have a problem, because you have those horrible baggy udders that are difficult for the calf to get hold of. This tail setting is very good on this heifer. As I said, she's well filled over the top line, over the hips over here. And at the end of the day, her condition is excellent for an animal that is 6 months in calf. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a very good example of this of the Brahman breed, and I'd like to compliment the breeder on the turnout and the way this animal is put together. Thank you very much.
Goeiemôre luisteraars. Op die termynmarkte het wit en geel mielies sowel as oliesade maar redelik swaar getrek verlede week. Verlewering in Desember met hoër verwagte oeste in Amerika as ook die rand wat versterk het. Wit mieliepryse is 3.5% af, terwyl geel mielies 4.3% goedkoper is. Koringpryse het egter goed gedoen en 6.5% duurder. Sonneblomprys 3.3% af, terwyl die sojaboonprys ook met 2.8% gedaal het verlewering in Desember. Die olieprys het die afgelope week bestendig gebly en net 1 sent gestyg. Die rand het die afgelope week goed gedoen teenoor vernaamste geldeenhede, 1.3% sterker teenoor die dollar, 1.2% sterker teenoor die pond en 1.7% sterker teenoor die euro.
Farming is known for the risks involved, and at AgriSeker we understand farmers' needs and risks. AgriSeker is a specialist underwriting manager in the crop insurance market whose vision and goal is to provide an agricultural risk management service to our clients in order to play an important role in maintaining food security. The AgriSeker family is there for farmers so they can do their best to feed the country. Ask your insurance broker or find us online at www.agriseker.co.za.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we have a look at this bull over here, the first thing that we see in this bull over here is the width of its head. Look at the width between the eyes, and you will see that there's very, very good width between those eyes over here. And when we start looking at the muzzle over here, we also see that excellent width in the muzzle. This bull has been prepared for a show next week, so we can expect that the condition of this bull is very good indeed, and that of course will also explain why we see a little bit of excess development over here in the brisket, but not too much to actually be a problem. We look at the width of this bull through the front end. It shows us very good legs. Our legs are straight, they are well formed, the hooves are well formed over there, and those hooves and those legs move well into the shoulders. The animal isn't overly developed in the shoulders, which is very, very important, because you must remember that a bull with overdeveloped shoulders may give calving problems in an animal that has a small or a narrow pin bones. But if we have a look at this bull over here, he shows us very good strength through the neck also. And one thing we will see when we look at this bull from the side view, we will see that excellent coloration of the neck, and you will see a slight coloration over here on the bottom of the barrel going back, which we all know is a symbol of masculinity in bulls, and that's what we want to see. We want to see masculinity in bulls. If you look at this bull and compare it to the cow, you just see the big difference between the head. A bull must look at you as if he owes you, as if you owe him money. At the end of the day, this bull shows us that width. There might be one or two people who might like to see a little bit more development in the eyebrows of this bull, maybe. But at the end of the day, this bull still shows us very, very good masculinity. Moving now to the side of this bull, we see the masculinity, the muscle development in the neck over here. And remember, I spoke about muscle development. If we have a look at this bull over here, on the forearm and over here, we see that this development over here stands out more than we saw on the cow. In other words, this is muscle. And this is one of the places we always see muscle on a bull, because there is no fat covering this muscle over here. If we have a look at how this bull is put together over the shoulder over here, some might say, oh, they'd like to see a little bit more width over here, but for the size of this bull, and he is a medium frame bull, he does show us satisfactory width over here behind the shoulder, and also, of course, over the top line. He's got a very, very well developed hump over here, with that discoloration over here, as I said, that slight darkening over here, which is what you like to see. And at the end of the day, this forequarter of this bull over here is, in my opinion, just in proportion to this bull in its whole. This bull shows us good depth over here. That's what we like to see. And one of the things that really attracted me to this bull is how clean this bull is in the underline. A person very often gets bulls that have a lot of capacity over here in the sheath, which is all very well, but that can be a problem if a person is now running those bulls extensively and in thorn felt in those type of areas. This bull shows us good capacity over here over the barrel, and exceptional length between the hips and the pin bones. You see the length between the hip over here and the pin bone over here. That's what we like to see, because there are examples within the breed that are inclined to be slightly short over there. And as I said with the cow, our expensive meat cuts are here in what we call the pistol cut. And this is what we like to see. We must just remember over here, the loins over here are strong, they're very, very well developed. This eye muscle over here, which is what we have when you have a T-bone, that runs over here, and then we have the rump over here, which is exceptionally well developed over here, and we'll see how the muscling of this bull comes down over here at the end, at the back end of this animal. Looking at the testes over there, the testes are well developed. They aren't hanging too low, which is also very, very good, because sometimes bulls' testes hang very, very low indeed. Yes, I can see that on a hot day they might hang a bit lower for cooling, but sometimes those testes just hang a bit low, and that can be a problem when they're walking large distances and things like that. But this bull shows us an exceptionally well-formed testes over here. They are straight. Capacity is satisfactory to my eye, but remembering I haven't measured them. And we'd like to have a good capacity in those testes, because it's been proved that they also have an effect on heifer longevity, calving, ease, etc., etc. If we move back over here and we look at this bull over here, we can see, you can go forward a bit there, please. You can go forward a bit, please. If you can come behind there. There we go, that's fine, that's 100. We can look at the back end of this bull. How well this bull is developed on the outside thighs over here. It is very, very round. It shows us very, very good capacity on the outside thighs over here, and is well filled between the inside thighs. We don't want to see a big V on the inside of those thighs there, because this is of course all meat. And if you're looking at the bulge over here, that of course is also all meat. Sometimes we have an animal that actually has a very, very well developed thigh over here, a very, very well developed bulge over here, but it ends very high up. This bull brings its meat down, well down towards its hocks. It's also been proved that those that have what they sometimes call an apple boat, apple rump, actually do not show or do not have as much meat as a bull which brings that meat down closer to the rump, closer to the hocks over here. When we look at the way this bull stands, he stands four square on his feet over here, and at the end of the day, this bull shows us good bone without being too heavy in the bone. That's what we like. We don't want a bull that actually has too fine a bone. We'd like to see bone development commensurate with the rest of this bull. If you ever look at this bull right from the front to the back, he's a slightly smaller, rounder bull with very, very good capacity and very good width. And that's exactly what we like to see in a medium frame Brahman bull.
AGT Foods Africa, from producer to the world.
This heifer over here, also a very, very well grown out young Brahman heifer over here. If we have a look at her, she shows us the same femininity in the head that the other one which I discussed shows. You can see that those kind eyes over here. She shows us very good width through the front end, very good width through the eyes over there. She's going to calve before she's 30 months. She's 27 months now. She's 6 months in calf. She's been very, very well grown out. If I have to comment a little bit further and very, very fine points, I'd possibly like to see a little less fleshy in the less fleshing in the neck. I can handle the brisket over here because that fat over there will milk off when the calf comes. So from that point of view, I have no real problems there with that over there. Through the front end over here and the shoulder barrel joint over there, we can see how flat that is. Very, very good attachment over here. We can see the fine bow, the fine pleats over here on the skin over there. Shows us femininity and shows us that she's actually very, very soft skin over here with a very good spring of rib, and she's exceptionally wide at the top end here with a very, very good width over here between the hump and the pins, and then from the from the hump to the hips, and then from the hips to the pins. A person might say that this animal looks short. At the end of the day, we must remember that appearance of being short has to be taken into account along with the depth of this animal. And if we have a look at the depth of this animal, she is exceptionally deep. That gives her that short appearance. She's well grown out. She doesn't show any excess muscling on her. She's in very good condition. We can see the hips, you can see the length over here. That over there is a bit of fat over there. She is going to go to a show shortly, so a person can understand that she is actually in show condition. She's 6 months in calf, and if a person looks over here at the underside, look at the teats over there. The teats are well developed. They've got a good shape. The udder over here at the end of the day shows us a lot of space for udder development, and the attachment over here, the hind attachment, you can see how good that hind attachment is, with good potential for that for this animal to develop a well-shaped and well-formed udder. I particularly like the shape and size of those teats. I don't see any excess fleshiness there in that udder at all at this stage of the game. When we look at her from the hindquarters over here, we can see that she shows us very good width between the pins over here, which, as I have said earlier, is an indication of good development and easy carving. She's flat in the hindquarters over here. She stands on good legs. She hasn't got excess bone. And at the end of the day, if we have a look at the back legs over here, we'd arguably like to maybe see a smidgen more depth in those heels, but at the end of the day, she does show us very good formation of those hooves. When we look at her, the way she stands four square, and at the end of the day, a good example of a young, well brought out Brahman heifer. Congratulations to the breeder.
Goeiemôre, ek is Jong en hiermee bring ek vir julle die week se veilingskalender. Ons skop die week se kalender op die 14de September met Karoo Veldmonsmaras se 10de produksieveiling af. Hierdie veiling word deur Vleisentraal in Kunslyn, Steynsburg aangebied en die aanbod op die veiling sluit 35 SP bulle en 100 jong vroulike diere in alle produksiestadiums in. Dan op die 15de September hou Consortium Merino hulle 86ste produksieveiling op Vrolikskraal in Hofmeyer. Die aanbod op die veiling sluit 90 ramme en 700 oeye in. En OVK sal die veilings namens die groep behartig. Ook op die 15de September hou Chris Simmenthalers hulle bil en vers veiling by die Montevideo veilingskraal in Senekal. Daar sal 30 bulle en 100 verse aangebied word op die veiling. Dan op die 16de September word daar 3 veilings aangebied op die dag. Ek skop sommer die dag se veilingsgebeure met AG Gene Tonsmaras se produksieveiling af. Die veiling word deur Vleisentraal Ermelo op die Plaas Arcadia in Vrede aangebied en die veiling beloof om 75 top bulle en 100 vroulike diere vir jou as koper te bied. Die volgende veiling vir die dag is GeneLink Brangus se 11de produksieveiling. Hierdie veiling sal gehou word op die Plaas Middelwater by die B-Human veilingslokaal in Bloemfontein. Die aanbod op die veiling sluit 25 SP bulle en 80 vroulike diere in. En die veiling sal aangebied word deur Vleisentraal Bloemfontein met Adam Sinclair as die afslaer op die dag. Dan sluit ek die week se veilingskalender met Beef Power Braffords se veiling af, wat ook op die 16de September sal plaasvind. Die veiling word deur OVK by die Sundown Lodge in Aliwal Noord aangebied. Die aanbod op die veiling sluit 15 Brafford bulle, 15 dragtige verse en 20 oop koeie in. En dit is al vir die week se veilingkalender. Ek sien julle weer volgende week dieselfde tyd op dieselfde plek.